No way.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Just shoot.
Okay, now we have okay. That's okay. Call the village board meeting to order. You got the time? 30 something? Yep. Everyone is here except for President Johnson and Trustee Razick, who's been excused. Has this meeting been publicly noticed? Yes, it has. Next item of business is the consent agenda. Items may be acted upon in one vote. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, sir.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. No items removed from the consent agenda. The next order of business is the October 18th, 22nd special village board minutes. Approval thereof.
I move to approve the October 18th, 2016 minutes.
Second. Oh.
Second.
Nice try.
I had a couple
Any
edits.
discussion?
Yeah. On the first page, under the village, on item 3, village manager's professional education. The thing reads, motion by trustee Amenta, seconded by trustee Brozak to reduce the village manager's professional training by $57.50. I propose to strike village manager's professional training and replace it with reduce the education budget of the village manager's office by $57.50. It's not his personal. And then on page 2 at the bottom, there's that title, Marketing Fund, that is actually a Marketing and Communications Fund. And also on the second line, it said to reduce the Marketing Fund tax levy. It's actually the Marketing and Communications Fund. For clarity of the actual title of the fund.
And then that would apply to the third line where marketing fund would be included.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, and on page 2 under marketing fund, an amendment to the motion. Wait a second. Okay, Trustee Rozek asked to add, to clarify that the amendment was to eliminate funding relating to marketing coordination. So at the end of the sentence, at the end of the first sentence, just add to eliminate funding relating to marketing coordination.
Well, were there other amendments to the minutes that Trustee Razick requested?
I think she sent an email today, yeah.
Okay. Because we could defer minutes and not take action until everybody's present, and then they can be reviewed and discussed together. Or that email could be included in our board packet next time.
How extensive are the amendments? It's extensive. Yeah, we'll cover it.
Well then, can I amend the motion to defer the minutes till the next?
You just withdraw.
I withdraw. Move to withdraw my motion.
Withdraw my second.
And would that apply to the other minutes on the November? Oh, we have 3 minutes to approve. Did she have amendments for all those? I didn't see the email, so. Did her amend
She had some, I mean, I'm not sure.
There were some for all
All 3 of them?
And perhaps that can be taken care of administratively between now and when these come back for us to act on. I know some of them, when we have a motion in a second and then amendment in a second, we report the voting on both the amendment and the motion, but that's not consistent. And I don't know if that's because it was done as one vote. For instance, on these minutes from October 18th, when we look at the marketing fund on page 2. A motion was made to reduce by 12,000, and an amendment was made to reduce it by 6,000. Trustees Samento and Rosick voting nay, the amended motion was approved 5-2. So that says the amended motion. The previous motion, capital project boardroom chairs, talks about the motion was made, and then there was an amendment, and then it said the motion passed, but didn't discuss the amendment.
Yeah, you're right, it should show the
Sorry.
vote on the amendment and then vote on the amendment.
If it was an amended motion, or if it was, because sometimes we vote on the amended motion, sometimes we vote on the amendment and then the motion. And I just think,
Well, it depends, if the amendment passes, then you would vote on the amended motion. If the amendment fails, then you're voting on the original motion.
so capital projects, we had a motion and then an amendment, and then the motion passed 4-3. Was that the motion, the amendment, or the amended motion?
Without a motion on the table, since it's been on the
Yes.
floor, can we discuss this?
Well, I'll defer.
It's deferred.
It's deferred, but, I mean, I think you can give direction, I mean, because we have the tape, right?
We can leave that to us. It may take a couple, like another, because I did those minutes. So I'll look through the tape again and try to figure it out and work with Tanya to try to figure out how to do that. There was a lot of technicalities that I wasn't really good at, so.
Right. Okay.
No, so I'll bring them back.
No, actually, I appreciate that clarification, because then I looked at the next meeting minutes, and the next meeting minutes were much clearer.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Consider the source flawed, is how
No
I
comment. Thank you.
do that. So, but I'll work to
I'll
get
yield
it.
my time.
When Chris does the minutes, they're signed barely submitted instead of respectfully submitted. That's pretty much an indication of where we are.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Well, it's very hard sometimes to participate and do the
You know, Tanya does that just so you get a better appreciation for how hard her job is.
It is very difficult. I've done it, did it for years.
So do we need to defer each and every,
That probably makes sense, I mean, if there's proposed amendments from the trustee that's not here, it's probably easier to discuss them that way.
right, so
And I think
can we
she-
just defer?
the email, yeah. there's no-
Defer all 6, 7, and 8 at once. It's
Sure.
not like we have to take a separate motion or action. Okay. The next item is agenda item number 9, citizens to be heard. This item is for matters not on the agenda. Discussion may follow, comment on non-agenda items, or discussion and action may come at future meetings. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Thank you. Number 10, public hearing, proposed zoning amendment for Riverside. Is there any members of the public who would like to be heard tonight under this item? Oh, motion?
Can you say the time?
Okay. We are now beginning the public hearing at 7:40 p.m. Are there any comments related to the hearing? Seeing none? Oh, we did the presentation during the public hearing? Clearly, I've never,
No, yes, let one do the presentation from my commission.
as part of the public hearing.
Can I make a recommendation, since we have a few, or at least one member of the public here for something that's been ongoing for several years regarding the public safety? Is it, would you be able to go out of order?
We started the public hearing, but
It
I'll
should
take,
take, but
okay. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mention it earlier.
Anybody here for the public?
No, they have not identified.
Close the public?
Yeah, we could close
Close
the
the
public.
public hearing,
And then just take it under new business for presentation,
yeah.
council?
You can, either way, yeah, it doesn't matter, I mean, since there's no public comment, you can technically reflect the comment and then take a report, because it's agended that way, so either way is.
All right. And then we could take comments next.
At least I wrote A.
Yes. Okay, so seeing Hearing none, no comments from the public hearing. I will now close the public hearing at 7:43. And move on to new business, item B1, correct? Under public safety? I'll turn it over to trustee Mar. Are you going to make a
Yes,
presentation?
the Public Safety Committee met this evening. We've been working on a request to reduce the parking congestion on North Prospect Avenue, Downer. We have before us a draft ordinance that does that. It creates a daytime parking permit district on the west side of Prospect Avenue and also on the west side of Downer. The parking is restricted to 2 hours, and you have residents have an opportunity to secure a daytime parking permit in that area to park beyond the 2 hours. In addition, the ordinance cleans up, there's a number of old parking, residential daytime parking areas that were consumed within the south consumer congested area, and those have been removed, and the order of the districts renumbered or re-alphabetized to get cleaned up and reflect to date what's occurred. The committee is recommending that the board approve the residential daytime parking areas for these 2 streets. So I just move ordinance number 2064, an ordinance to create new residential daytime parking permit districts.
I apologize. Was there a certain time that the public was to talk, and did I miss it?
For this item,
Yes.
for the residential?
Yes.
parking?
No, great.
No, not, you didn't miss it.
Okay.
So we have a motion and
Second.
we have a second. Discussion from the board and then comments from the public. Thank you.
We discussed this in committee for several weeks, several meetings. We asked the chief to bring us additional information, which he did. We had we had several members of the block, including one president, who had organized a petition present to us. And as you guys are all aware, this was discussed last year with different committee structures. So after all that information, at the committee level, we felt confident in moving this to the full board. We would, however, like to, some of us in the committee, and Trustee Rozak is not here, but would like for the board to look at perhaps a more holistic approach to parking policies and parking study. I know we allocated $5,000 or whatever it was in the budget to serve that partially.
And moving ahead.
But anyways, yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add, but.
Nope.
Okay, other comments from the public?
That was my question. I'm trying to recall the parking study that we talked about in budget. Was that restricted to the business district, or was it the entire? I seem to recall it was restricted to the business district.
There was, trustee Menta, there was 2 separate ones. One was more restricted to, from a zoning standpoint, parking, which was the $5,000. And then the other one was, that trustee Rozak asked for, was to look at this holistically. It didn't really need more of a, didn't need a consultant. But that's on the agenda to discuss in January, February, whatever it takes, to kind of look at the whole parking issue as a whole. So that's what she requested.
Because it seems like we're just pushing the south area, residential congested commuter area, just pushed it north of Capitol, and now we're pushing it again. So rather than continuing to push it, keep the can down the road, I think it's worthwhile looking at things more globally. That was my only feeling about it.
Does this change at all the parking requirements or permitting requirements for the previously designated congested areas south of Capitol Hill?
Yeah, they were consumed within, they were consumed when we did the whole south end,
Yeah.
so it just wasn't cleaned up.
Yeah, okay. But the permit are the, hang on a second. So, but the permitting, if this new ordinance and these two new districts, areas, are permit required daytime? And is the permit process and the details about the permit consistent with the permit that the folks on the south of Capitol
$5.
can't supply and get it? Right. Okay.
Weren't there differences in the number of permits you could get and the time, whether it goes to 4 to 6 p.m.? Or did you make those consistent?
A residential congested commuter area states in the existing ordinance that it's a limit of 2 permits per household. That was created after the residential permit parking district, which is what this is, which has no.
So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
It is a tiny bit, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
The process is the same.
Yeah.
Fill out a form, pay $5.
And you have to do that every year to get a
Once a
permit.
year.
And the reason for some of the changes is simply that some of what had previously been designated as residential permit parking district areas got eaten up or consumed when the board later created the residential congested commuter area and expanded that. So we cleaned up the ordinance as well by making it, taking those out of the one and leaving them in the other, just so everything's consistent.
Is there no other discussion of the board? I'll turn it open to the public, the residents that would like to be heard.
Am I understanding that
Could you say your name? Excuse me, your
Cheryl
name.
St. Louis McCaffrey.
I'm sorry, if you could come up to the microphone and then also say your address, we would appreciate that for the minutes.
Why?
It's standard procedure.
I'm wondering if this ordinance is below Capitol Drive on Prospect Avenue,
North.
north?
Okay.
You know, some time ago, we were having troubles on Prospect Avenue with the entire University of Wisconsin, UWM coming up and parking in our area. And what you've done now, it seems, is you've given all the locals to park in the same area. You've substituted locals on the street to what UWM used to be doing. I live around that area. Crime is up. 4 times I've been on the street early in the morning with people going through cars. I've had our officers there. 7 cars were broken in on Shorewood and Prospect. 3 cars were stolen down on Prospect and Beverly. 2 cars over in Farwell. I'm an attorney prosecuting attorney. And I just can't believe this is happening. I also can't believe that the notice to the people in that area hasn't been more effective to let them know what's going on right now.
This isn't changed.
I've met the police outside at 5 in the morning with trash up and down Prospect and Shorewood with 7 cars broken into. My neighbor across the street, I was out at 5, I go to work at that time. People walking up, just going up to cars while I'm watching, opening the doors. Anybody who's done any study on cars on the street knows that crime goes up. And after the crime goes up with the cars parked overnight, they then go to the houses. Anybody who's studied, after the houses, assaults occur. You're bringing people into our beautiful little neighborhood by putting cars on the street. This is going on all the time. I don't know what the chief told you, but I've been calling the police as they come in and break into the cars. And this started when you let them park on the street. I just would suggest you take a look at the simple studies that have been done nationally about cars on the street and the crime that it attracts overnight. I'm not talking about during the daytime, I'm talking about overnight.
So I would recommend, we'll note that, The matter we have at hand is daytime parking.
I know, but that's attracting people too. I mean, we have people coming up off of Oakland Avenue, onto Shorewood Boulevard, and just filtering into the neighborhood.
Okay,
Right
thank
on.
you for coming forward, and I hope you stay involved with our public safety.
I just want to say, I've been living there for 33 years. I pay $10,000 a year in real estate taxes. My book club has been together for 15 years. They didn't know this was going on. You need to let the people in that area know. And I respectfully ask you, as a prosecutor, to just get a hold of the studies. What happens after cars are parked on the street overnight is happening. And it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. It's going to get worse.
So what we have before us today is to really put additional restrictions on street parking. Like you have south of Capitol, north of Capitol on a couple blocks. It's to put additional restrictions to not have the UWM street parking. They're on these streets. Now you're talking, and there has been some discussion of opening up night parking in the village. And you might want to continue to participate in those discussions.
You know, we didn't have any violence or we didn't have any criminal activity going on with the UWM cars on the street. This happened when the overnight car parking started, and people were leaving their cars out overnight. And it's exacerbated by, I think, if you're going to have cars there during the daytime. I really would respectfully ask you to look at the studies. And I would also ask, if you're going to start proliferating on the street parking, overnight or daytime, I would ask that you, instead of having something like this talked about or passed the week of Thanksgiving, you might get notice out to everybody so that they can discuss this and show up. Because it's being discussed. It's just that nobody knows that you're talking about it right now.
Well, ma'am, I think we've got another person here that would let you know, as a person that represents the neighborhood in which this particular ordinance is aimed at. There have been many meetings that have had a lot of the neighbors in the area whose ordinance we are discussing. So perhaps the folks down in your neighborhood didn't know, the folks that in the neighborhood where this action is taking place were absolutely informed and very involved and very active for all these meetings that Trustee Bachorst was referring to.
And I'm glad to hear that. I'm just saying that you started 36 months ago and there was a problem with UWM parking and you fixed it. And I thank you for that. But now we have a different problem that's occurring. And I think it's bigger than what you're looking at. Respectfully, get a hold of the daytime parking. Leaving cars on the street all the time is a serious issue for crime. And the studies are available nationally, whether it be a small village or a big city.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Can we call the question? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Oh, it's a roll call vote. I knew that. Trustee Manda. Aye. Trustee Bachorst.
Yes.
Trustee Maher.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee McHugh. Yes, the vote is 5-0. So we are going to go back to 11A under Plan Commission. Number 1, consideration of ordinance to rezone properties from B4 River District and Plan Development District to the Parks Preservation District and zoning maps amendment. Trustee Maher?
On October 25th, the Planning Commission considered the proposed rezoning of 3 parcels along the Milwaukee River. One of them is a small triangle just south of the Capitol Bridge that's owned by Milwaukee County that had requested that be rezoned. It's currently zoned B4, which is River District. And they requested it be rezoned to B3. The Planning Commission also reviewed proposals to rezone the bluff at Harbor Chase, the parcel that Harbor Chase has turned over, transferred to the village, to rezone that from PDD. It's currently part of the original zoning for the parcel before it was split into 2 parcels. That was the whole, it was PDD. So the proposal is to change that from PDD to P3, which is parks. And the third parcel is the parcel at the Sherman and Associates site that is currently still zone B4, which is River District zoning. And that parcel has also been split into, and the Bluff parcel transferred to the village ownership. And this would rezone the Bluff from B4 to Parks 3. So the whole, all three river parcels that the village owns two and the county owns the other would be parks, would now be Park District P3. This completes, well, it doesn't complete the process. It's one more step in the Bluff process. We started in 2006. We were working on the first Central District Master Plan. We created the shoreline zoning regs to protect the Bluff, and also the whole B4 district was created. And then in 2009, we did the riparian plan for the trails along these three parcels and down to Hubbard. So that was our next step. Then in 2010, we partnered with the Milwaukee River Greenway and their master plan, which includes the Bluff and the trails along the Bluff. 2012, we applied for the first stewardship grant, and in 2014, we were awarded this grant for $192,000 to put the trails and start the restoration on the Bluff. We were waiting for the transfer of these parcels. This completes the transfer part and puts it into parks, so then we can proceed with the trail installation and then start the restoration. This is also part of our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. This zoning, these parcels are part of the trail and park. Once, hopefully, if we do approve the rezoning, and the next, we have much more work ahead of us. We've got to put the trail in and start the management plan and working on the bluffs. Also, I think there should be a discussion on what, is this an extension of Hubbard Park? And the Parks Commission discussing how do we need to implement, how we want to implement the management plan for the bluff, because there is a parcel, the north part of current Hubbard Park it contains some very rare plant community there, and it's currently protected by the fence that's kept people from coming down the bluff. And as we implement this, we need to think, do not totally open up that area, or we may lose it until we're set to protect it. So the Planning Commission completed their review and recommended the rezoning of the three parcels to P3. Do we have a motion?
Do we have a motion?
I would move, well, there's a suggestion. I would move that the board approve the proposed rezoning amendments of the to P3 as presented in the materials for the bluff plan along the Milwaukee River.
Second.
Is there an ordinance? Yeah, I don't, where's the,
Move to approve.
oh, here it is, here it
Ordinance
is. I
number
got it, here it is. Thank you. I move to approve ordinance number 2066, an ordinance to rezone parcels currently located in the B4 River District and PDD Plan Development District to the P3 Parks Preservation District.
Second.
Any discussion?
So are these parcels all like steep bluff parcels?
Yes, they're generally the bluff and 20 feet in.
Along the county one.
County's a little flat at the bottom.
But there's river trail access along the foot.
Correct.
Other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, roll call vote? This will be a roll call vote. Trustee Bachhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Maher.
Yes.
Trustee Zobek.
Aye.
Trustee Menza.
Hi.
Trustee McKay. Yes, the vote is 7-0. Or 5-0, sorry.
All right.
All right, moving back to public safety, we'll take consideration of body camera agreement? Trustee Bachhorst?
Nope.
We had discussed this in committee. This has just came back to us. We wanted a copy, Trustee Rozak wanted a copy of the agreement, Chief. Do you want to say, introduce the?
I can. You have in your packet, you have my memo recommending the particular brand of cameras. And if you remember last year's budget, you put $30,000 in the budget to buy body cameras. The reason I'm back here in front of you today is because the camera that we're recommending based upon our research has a commitment to it, a 5-year commitment at a cost of approximately $13,000 a year. And that's for the storage and the back-end software of the camera. And we'll also be replacing our squad cameras with this particular camera as well. So it's a dual purpose. Keep in mind that squad cameras in the range of between $5,000 and $6,000 a piece. This $13,000 a year will incorporate those squad cameras as well, so we won't have to. We have 5 cars with cameras. That's $30,000 right there. So the offset, I think, is pretty reasonable. The contract, for some reason, the funding would dry up. The contract is, we're able to get out of the contract if need be, but the commitment would be a 5-year commitment with the cameras. And after the 2.5-year mark, if the company comes out with a better camera, we have a free upgrade to that camera. And as you know, technology advances before our eyes, so we'll get a free upgrade at 2.5 years from the company. And so that's why we're here to approve the agreement, because it is a 5-year agreement. And I'll take any questions if you have.
Any questions?
Why are the squad car cameras $5,000?
Just, that's the cost of them. They have their
You know
own.
when you see these videos from Russia, like everyone in
Yeah,
Russia
yeah.
has a camera on their car?
It's a GoPro usually, yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what the cost?
All those Russians are spending $5,000.
Yeah. You know where the cost comes from is their software. Like the hardware itself, but they trap you with the software. And so historically, you know, the cameras that we have right now are digital ally cameras, they're called, and they were $5,500 for the camera, for the mount, for the bracket, and for the actual storage of the data. And then you have to have a computer inside. So what this is doing is actually using the cloud service. And so what's nice about it is that the officers were upgrading our squad, so that the minute the video is done recording, that video will be uploaded to the cloud and it'll be accessible to any computer that has internet connection, and obviously you have to have a password to get into the software, but we'll have immediate access to that video. So it's pretty advanced, and you know, the hardware is not the cost, it's the back end of the software.
And my other question was more for village managers. You know, we haven't budgeted for 2017 that $14,512. So
I should have mentioned that is in the budget.
it's in the police department budget.
Correct.
Oh.
Yep.
That's-
Yeah, I forgot to mention. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was put
I
in the
remember
budget.
that. Is it a capital project? Or
No, it was in the operating.
it's in the operating budget.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, and that's we mentioned. I think we talked about it briefly early on in the budget, the first budget when I presented. We briefly talked about that, and so we anticipating that this would be agreed upon. We did put that in the budget for next year.
Is there a motion?
How do they work? I mean, we've got currently squad cams, and they're not continually rolling. They roll when there's.
Correct.
They don't have to be manually turned on, do they?
Correct. So we'll have these set up. There'll be different triggers that will turn the cameras on. The lights, the overhead, the emergency lights coming on, will activate the cameras. And with the camera that we're going with, if one of the cameras is turned on, it will turn all the cameras on. They're all connected by Bluetooth. So if an officer would forget to turn their camera on, the minute another camera comes in that area, it will trigger his camera or her camera as well. And it's always recording, so it records 30 seconds and then just repeats that. And so what it does is, so for instance, if the officer's in an interaction and they hit their record button, it will have recorded the prior 30 seconds video and audio. That's usually the critical time, right? All of a sudden the officer identifies him in a bad situation, hits the camera, it will have pre-recorded the first 30 seconds of that interaction. And then that will turn on the other cameras as well.
So in the case where it's not a lights on response, pull over, have some interaction with somebody or something, the officer needs to turn that on.
Correct. It's
And
just
they get the prior 30 seconds and then everything.
correct.
And then are there guidelines for when they need to turn that on?
Correct. So we have a body-worn camera policy in place,
Okay.
and it discusses that very topic of when turn on, turn off. There's obviously certain circumstances and some, investigations that require, if the victim would ask to be not recorded, that they would be allowed to not record that interaction.
And generally speaking, the officers are in favor of cameras, are they not? Is that a true statement?
Yes, I think so. We've had squad cameras. I mean, you always have the notion of the big brother, but I think 99% of the time, the camera is there to protect the officer and the public, but to protect the officer too. So, and we've had, like I said, we've had squad cameras. They have microphones now. The problem with that is that as you get farther away from the vehicle, the microphone doesn't work. And so you get this sporadic pick up of conversation. And then this will be, it's all encompassed in the device itself, so there is no range issue. So wherever the camera is, you have full video and audio.
So at a routine traffic stop, lights are on, both cameras turn on?
Correct.
And the officer exits the squad, approaches the vehicle, his or her camera and mic is rolling as well as the dash cam or wherever it's mounted in the
That's
squad.
correct.
So if an officer is responding to a call, like going to someone's house for a domestic violence suspected, they would turn the camera on.
Correct.
So when they're responding to a call, they turn on the camera.
Correct. Now, I just put this out here, it's not foolproof, right? I mean, we do our best. There's going to be times where if they get a stroke, it can fall off or whatnot. But, it's another tool, and like any tool, it's not 100%, but it's, what everybody's doing in law enforcement.
Did you address training and orientation and how long that takes to kind of onboard in?
Yeah, I mean, we tested it for about 3 weeks.
Oh, you probably put that in there.
Yeah, and so we'll have a phase-in period with it to get everybody comfortable with the cameras and downloading of it. But it's pretty simple. Another reason we went with these, it's as simple as there's a docking station that's connected to the internet. The officer places the camera into the docking station. That's all they have to do. It's cop-proof.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the master services and purchasing agreement with Taser International Incorporated to purchase 20 Axon body cameras, 6 fleet cameras, and the evidence.com licensing and storage data component. For an initial cost of $31,468, with an anticipated future annual cost of $14,512.50.
Second.
Yeah.
It's my motion, can you repeat it, please?
Any discussion?
Well, I just wanted to mention there was a really interesting article in the New York Times about a month or 2 months ago. Did you read that about whether the videos are public record and people requesting them and then having to buzz out the face of victims or other people who didn't want to be identified publicly, and that there were some places are finding there's really big costs in responding to FOIA requests for the video. So it was a really interesting article, I thought, about this. I mean, I don't think we'll encounter that necessarily, but it's just something to think about.
Yes, yes, we're aware that, and that's another reason for the choice, because they have redaction software built in. So hopefully to save that time. And actually, you can blur a face, and it will blur that face throughout the entire video. So you only have to do it once, and it will stay with the entire video. So that's another reason, because that, you're right, that is an issue for them. Open records.
Other discussion? Hearing none, is this a... Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, staying with public safety, item number 3, consideration of amending electrical code to comply with state law changes.
Public.
I, in error, told her before that I was taking it. We had a different discussion. I was just so that you got to the first one. See.
Oh, gotcha, okay. So trustee Marr.
This committee's been working on a proposed amendment to the Shorewood electrical code. The state, a while back, changed the state code to not allow municipalities to impose their own licensing requirement on the electric people doing electrical work. We had that in our code. What this does is remove that from our code, so our code complies with the state restriction that we cannot have a license, municipal and local licensing requirement. For some minor cleanup of the since we're touching the electrical code, just get it up to speed, some of the titles. So the committee is recommending approval of the changes. I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2065, an ordinance to repeal the requirements that electrical contractors or electricians obtain licensing from the village of Shorewood.
Second. Discussion? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Trustee Marr.
Yes.
Trustee Zober.
Aye.
Trustee Menza.
Aye.
Trustee Bachman.
Aye.
Trustee McKay.
Yes.
The vote is 5-0.
All right, that concludes public safety. We'll move on to item 11C, public works. Item number 1, consideration of professional service agreement for engineering for alleys. Trustee Menza.
We had 3 respondents to an RFP for engineering work for our alley work next summer, whatever that may end up being, whether it's 2 small alleys or some other combination. So as you may recall from last week, or 2 weeks ago, I think, we decided that we would engineer all 4 of the alleys identified by the DPW. So the recommendation is to go with Strand Associates, and I'll move approval of a professional services agreement with Strand Associates in the amount of $45,000.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, consideration of professional services agreement for engineering of sidewalks. Trustee Menta.
We have a similar engineering agreement, this time with Clark Dietz for the sidewalk program for next summer. They are the low bidder. Sigma Group did the work in 2015, the sidewalk engineering at that time. And I think our DPW director felt they did a fine job, but also felt that Clark Dietz had the required experience and qualifications. And her recommendation was basically based on the low bid. So that's what I recommend. I move approval of a professional services agreement with Clark Dietz in the amount of $19,900 for the 2017 Shorewood sidewalk replacement program.
Second.
Any discussion?
When they design these at one point we were going around the trees. Is that your practice now, or is that was just that year?
No, that is a policy, a design policy.
I'm sorry. That's all I have.
Any other discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Continuing on to item D, judiciary personnel and licensing. Item 1, consideration of weights and measures license agreements or assessments. And this is, we discussed this in committee. This is kind of procedural and administrative. It happens every year. The only change this year is Metro Market came back online, and after the construction, the opening of the store, so the price per device has gone down. Yo Mama is on the list, even though they are no longer open, they will be registered for this year and then be off the program. And the committee is recommending this to the full board for consideration.
I would move to approve the proposed assessment schedule of weights and measures for the July 1, 2015 to June 30, 2016 period.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll say ask all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Move us on to item 12, reports of village officials. Village president is not here tonight. Moving on to village trustees. Does anyone have a report at this time?
On November 30th, I can't remember the time, if it's 6 or 7, the consultant is going to be making a presentation, the Wilson Drive Steering Committee, on sort of 3 or more conceptual alternatives for the road. So I think it will be an exciting meeting, and we're all looking forward to hear what the consultant came up with. Anyone else?
And although it's premature, I'm sorry, you have one?
No.
I'm not bringing this up as an item for future consideration, but just to make others aware of our discussion at the committee level regarding committee membership and protocols and abiding with the various laws and rules. We had a very good discussion at the JP&L committee about updating the handbook for all of our committee members, our citizen committee members, with regards to open meeting, public records, Robert's rules, etc. So I think we've got a 3 or 4 step process that the committee will be going through over the next couple of months. So I think that'll go a long way in really in stepping up our game with all these committees. So I don't know that that'll be any action for this board, but just as a FYI.
You could certainly do a report and solicit feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll move on to the manager report.
Just want to really give Tanya and Diane and they're gone. Election workers, I think it was a great election. Not the outcome,
Well.
not going there. But I really believe they did a very stellar job of organizing the both the pre-vote here at the hall. They organized it very well. Very few times was there actually a wait. There was some, but it was just really well done, and I really think people appreciated that. And the other thing about that, I forgot. There's a second half of that.
Action day.
Oh, no, I know what I was going to say. I think it worked out very well, the board's recommendation on the late voting 07. People really appreciated that, and I think it was good for the staff because they got a lot of folks in, 45%, I think, voted ahead of time.
Wow.
And so, you know, the times that we actually had the election, it was not calm, but it was calmer than usual, so I really think they did a good job.
Any questions for the village manager? No Number 13, items for future consideration.
I'd like an update on the marketing summit and any contracts that have come out of that or changes to the marketing contracts.
We actually have a memo finally about the summary from the summit and the next steps. So that'll go this week. It was finalized last week. So that will be shared with all board members and then with our partners as well. I think contracts will be discussed separately. All right.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes.